Commander Lisa Reeves stared at the alien ship through the viewport of her research vessel, the ERS Discovery. It was beautiful in a strange way, with flowing lines and a surface that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. The massive ship dwarfed her small research vessel. This was humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and Lisa felt the weight of history on her shoulders. "Open communications channel," she ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Lieutenant Paul Wright nodded from his station. "Channel open, Commander." Lisa straightened her uniform and cleared her throat. "This is Commander Lisa Reeves of the Earth Research Ship Discovery. We come in peace and friendship from planet Earth." The bridge crew waited in tense silence. After years of searching the stars, humanity had finally found intelligent alien life. The ship had appeared suddenly near Neptune's orbit, its technology clearly far beyond Earth's capabilities. Minutes passed. Then the view screen flickered to life. The alien that appeared had gray-blue skin, 4 eyes arranged vertically, and no visible nose. Its mouth was a thin line that barely moved when it spoke. "I am War Chief Hraxvul of the Zolarian Empire. You trespass in space claimed by the Empire." Lisa maintained her diplomatic composure. "We weren't aware this region was claimed. We're explorers from Earth, seeking peaceful contact with other intelligent species." The alien's upper eyes narrowed. "Earth. Yes, our scouts have observed your primitive world. You have only recently achieved rudimentary space travel. We're young as a spacefaring species," Lisa acknowledged, "but eager to learn and share knowledge with others." War Chief Hraxvul made a sound that might have been a laugh. "The Zolarian Empire does not share. We conquer. We rule. Lesser species serve." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine but kept her expression neutral. "Perhaps we could arrange a formal diplomatic meeting. Our leaders would—" "No diplomacy is needed with servant races," the war chief interrupted. "Your species will submit or face extinction. We have conquered 27 worlds. All serve the Empire now." Behind Lisa, the crew exchanged worried glances. Security Officer Mason Grant moved closer to his weapons station. "We don't seek conflict," Lisa said carefully. "But humans don't submit easily. We prefer cooperation between equals." The alien's face showed what might have been discussed. "Equality? Such primitive thinking. The strong rule, the weak serve. This is the natural order." Lisa tried again. "Our species has much to offer through peaceful exchange." The transmission cut off abruptly. Warning signals blared across the bridge. "Commander, they're powering weapons," shouted Ensign Amy Chen from the sensor station. Lisa didn't hesitate. "Shields up, evasive maneuvers, send emergency signal to Earth." The Discovery rocked violently as the first energy blast struck them. They were a research vessel, not a warship. Their shields were designed for protection against space debris and radiation, not weapons. "Direct hit to engine section," reported Officer Ryan Lee. "Shields at 40%, Lisa gripped her command chair. "Return fire, target their weapons systems only." The Discovery's modest defensive lasers fired, but they barely scorched the alien vessel's hull. Another blast hit them, harder this time. A console exploded, throwing Lieutenant Wright across the bridge. Medical Officer Susan Clark rushed to his side. "Shields failing. Hull breach on deck 3. Officer Lee shouted over the alarms. Lisa made a quick decision. "All power to engines. Get us out of here." The Discovery turned away, accelerating as fast as its damaged engines could manage. The Zolarian ship followed, continuing to fire. "They're pursuing, Commander," Ensign Chen reported grimly. Lisa's mind raced. They couldn't outrun or outfight this enemy. "Prepare to release all research probes. Program them to emit random energy signatures." Officer Grant looked confused, but followed orders. "Probes ready, Commander." "Release probes and scatter them on my mark. Then cut power to all non-essential systems and drift." Lisa leaned forward. "We'll play dead. When the probes launched in all directions, each emitting different signals." The alien ship hesitated, its sensors likely confused by the multiple targets. The Discovery went dark, emergency systems only, floating like wreckage. The bridge was eerily quiet, red emergency lights casting long shadows. Everyone held their breath as the alien ship paused its pursuit, turning to investigate one of the probes. "Is it working?" whispered Medical Officer Clark, still tending to the injured lieutenant. Lisa didn't answer, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. After what seemed like hours but was only minutes, the alien ship moved away, accelerating, in the direction of Neptune. "They're leaving," Ensign Chen confirmed, her voice filled with relief. Lisa waited 5 more minutes before ordering, "Restore minimal power. Let's assess the damage." The report was grim. Half the crew dead or injured, engines severely damaged, life support systems operating at minimal capacity, but they were alive. "Can we make it back to Earth?" Lisa asked Officer Lee. He ran calculations through the damaged computer. "If we divert power from everything else and move slowly, yes. It'll take 3 weeks instead of 3 days. Lisa nodded firmly. "Do it, and begin preparing our report. Earth needs to know what we're facing." As the crippled ship limped toward home, Lisa recorded everything they had learned about the Zolarians, their technology, their aggressive nature, their empire of conquered worlds. Earth had to prepare. 2 weeks later, the Discovery was detected approaching Earth. A rescue fleet rushed to meet them, shocked by the vessel's condition. Admiral Franklin Pierce personally greeted Lisa when she was brought aboard the flagship. "Commander Reeves, what happened out there?" he asked, looking at her bandaged arm and the exhaustion in her eyes. Lisa handed him a data drive. "First contact, sir. It didn't go well." In the days that followed, Lisa briefed Earth's United Defense Council. Representatives from all nations gathered to hear her report and view the recordings of the encounter. "They see us as nothing more than potential slaves," she explained. The war chief explicitly stated their intention to conquer Earth. Defense Minister Greg Thompson looked grim. "How advanced is their technology?" "Far beyond ours," Lisa admitted. "Their weapons cut through our shields like they weren't there. But they're overconfident, arrogant. They don't expect resistance." Admiral Pierce studied the images of the Zolarian ship. "Do we have any advantages at all?" Lisa thought for a moment. "They underestimate us, and they fight with conventional tactics, direct confrontation, overwhelming force. They weren't prepared for our evasive strategy with the probes. I think they're used to enemies who surrender quickly." "They've never met humans before," said Admiral Pierce quietly. President Laura Bailey stood. The room fell silent. "Commander Reeves, your courage saved your ship and brought us this critical intelligence. Now we need to prepare. This council is hereby converted to a war council." She turned to the gathered representatives of Earth's nations. "For the first time in human history, we face a threat to our entire species. Our differences no longer matter. We must unite or be conquered." The old rivalries and conflicts that had divided Earth seemed suddenly petty. Chinese, American, Russian, European, African, all nodded in agreement. Admiral Pierce was appointed Supreme Commander of Earth's Unified Defense Force. His first action was to promote Lisa Reeves to captain and give her command of Earth's newest warship, still under construction. As Lisa stood before the enormous vessel in the orbital shipyard, Admiral Pierce joined her. "The EDS Defiance," he said. "She'll be ready in 6 months, faster, stronger, and better armed than anything we've built before." Lisa looked at the ship that would be hers. "Will it be enough?" "Not alone," Pierce admitted. "But we're converting every factory on Earth to military production. The lunar colonies are being turned into fortresses. Mars is developing stealth technology." He turned to face her directly. "We've spent thousands of years fighting each other, Captain. Now we'll use everything we've learned about warfare against this new enemy." A technician approached with an update on the ship's weapons systems. As Pierce reviewed the information, he added, "The Zolarians think we're weak, primitive creatures, who will easily submit. They've conquered 27 worlds." He handed the report back to the technician and smiled grimly at Lisa. "But they've never tried to conquer humans before." 6 months passed in a blur of activity. Earth transformed from a planet of separate nations into a unified war machine. Old enemies worked side by side, sharing resources and technology. The threat of alien invasion erased borders that had stood for centuries. Chief Strategic Officer Samantha Winters stood before the Earth Defense Council, her presentation displayed on the large screen behind her. At 45, she had spent 20 years in military intelligence before this crisis pulled her into the greatest strategic challenge of human history. "The Zolarian fleet is approaching Saturn," she said, pointing to the blinking dots on the tactical display. "Our long-range sensors count at least 300 warships and twice as many support vessels." Admiral Franklin Pierce leaned forward in his chair. "And our forces?" 78 combat-ready ships, sir. Another 45. Still under construction. Murmurs of concern filled the council chamber. The math was simple and terrifying. "We cannot win a direct confrontation," Samantha continued. "Not yet. But I believe we can survive their first attack with minimal losses." President Laura Bailey raised an eyebrow. "How?" Samantha tapped a control and the display changed to show Earth orbit, completely empty. "We abandon Earth orbit," she said simply. The chamber erupted in protests. Admiral Pierce raised his hand for silence. "Explain, Officer Winters." "The Zolarians expect us to defend Earth directly. Their entire strategy will be built around crushing our orbital defenses," Samantha explained. "What if those defenses aren't there? What if Earth appears undefended?" Colonel Eric Daniels, commander of the Special Operations Division, nodded slowly. "They'll be confused. Suspicious." "Exactly," Samantha agreed. "And while they're trying to figure out our strategy, we implement this." The display changed again, showing small teams boarding Zolarian supply ships. "The Zolarians have no concept of infiltration tactics. Their conquered worlds always fought directly, honorably, and lost. They expect the same from us." President Bailey studied the plan carefully. "You want to let them reach Earth orbit thinking they've won without a fight while we sneak aboard their ships?" "Yes, Madam President. Our Special Forces teams will target their support vessels during their approach through the asteroid belt. While their warships press ahead to Earth, we'll be inside their fleet, using their own weapons against them." "Admiral," Pierce scratched his beard thoughtfully. "Where will our main fleet be during this?" "Hidden behind the moon," Samantha answered. "Once the enemy fleet is in disarray from our internal attacks, our ships will emerge and engage them from behind." The room fell silent as military leaders considered the plan. It was unconventional, risky, and very human. "The Zolarians fight with honor," Captain Lisa Reeves noted from her seat near the Admiral. "They announce their presence, deploy in standard formations, and expect the same from their enemies. This plan would seem dishonorable to them." "Exactly," Samantha said with a grim smile, "and that's our advantage." 2 weeks later, Colonel Eric Daniels floated silently in his stealth suit, watching the massive Zolarian supply ship drift past. Behind him, 5 other Special Forces operatives waited for his signal. They had been hiding in the asteroid belt for 3 days, waiting for the enemy fleet to arrive. "Target approaching optimal position," whispered Lieutenant Kelly Bishop through their secure comm link. 30 seconds. Eric checked his equipment one last time. Their mission was simple in concept, nearly impossible in execution. Board the alien vessel, take control of its weapon systems, and turn them against the Zolarian warships when the signal came. "Remember," he told his team, "these aliens have never faced boarding actions. Their internal security will be minimal." The massive ship drew closer, its hull glowing faintly with energy shields designed to deflect large objects and weapons fire, not 6 humans in stealth suits. "Now," Eric ordered. They activated their thrusters in perfect unison, accelerating toward a maintenance hatch identified in Captain Reeves's intelligence report. Similar teams were targeting 19 other supply ships throughout the fleet. Landing. Silently on the hull, tech specialist Jake Morris attached a device to the hatch controls. The alien technology resisted briefly, then yielded. The hatch slid open. "We're in," Eric reported to Mission Control, millions of miles away on Mars. Inside the ship, the team moved through dimly lit corridors. The artificial gravity was stronger than Earth's, making their movements awkward until they adjusted. They encountered few crew members. The Zolarians were not expecting intruders. They have no internal sensors, Jake reported with surprise after scanning a junction box. Their security systems all face outward. Eric nodded. A species that conquered only through direct force would never expect an enemy inside their lines. They reached the weapon control center after disposing of 2 guards. Jake and weapons expert Linda Carter got to work deciphering the alien technology. It's surprisingly intuitive, Linda noted. Their weapon systems are powerful but straightforward. Jake nodded. I can redirect targeting control to our systems. When the signal comes, we'll have full firing capability. Meanwhile, War Chief Hrax Vul stood on the bridge of his flagship, surveying the blue planet ahead with all 4 of his eyes. His mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his kind. No orbital defenses, he noted to his second-in-command. The humans have fled. Sub-Chief Kralven looked uncertain. It seems too easy, War Chief. They are primitive. Hrax Vul dismissed the concern. Our scouts reported they were fractionalized, divided into competing territories. Perhaps they could not agree on a defense strategy. The Zolarian fleet moved into Earth orbit unopposed. War Chief Hrax Vul prepared his victory transmission to be broadcast to all frequencies on the planet below. Attention, humans of Earth, he began, his voice translated into the major Earth languages. Your world now belongs to the Zolarian Empire. Your leaders have abandoned you. Surrender and you will be permitted to live as servants of the Empire. Resist and... An explosion cut off his words. One of his battle cruisers had just been hit by fire from a Zolarian supply ship. What is happening? He demanded. Before anyone could answer, more explosions bloomed across his fleet. Supply ships were firing on warships. Communications became chaotic with confused reports. Humans! Came a frantic transmission from a support vessel. Humans inside our ships! War Chief Hrax Vul stared in disbelief. Impossible! Then new contacts appeared on the sensors. Human warships emerging from behind the planet's moon, attacking his now disorganized fleet from the rear. This is not how war is conducted, he roared. They dishonor themselves. On the bridge of the Aegis Defiance, Captain Lisa Reeves watched the battle unfold. The Zolarian fleet was in chaos, their rigid command structure unprepared for simultaneous attacks from within and without. Target their flagship, she ordered. All weapons. The Defiances, advanced weapons, developed with insights from the previous encounter, struck the Zolarian flagship with precision. Its shields flickered and failed. They're retreating, reported Officer Ryan Lee with amazement. The support ships under our control are creating a corridor, and nearly half their fleet is breaking formation. Admiral Pierce's voice came through. The command channel. Press the advantage, don't let them regroup. The battle lasted less than 3 hours. When it ended, over 60 Zolarian ships had been destroyed, 40 captured, and the rest had fled the solar system. War Chief Hrax Vul, captured and brought aboard the Defiance, stood before Captain Reeves in shocked disbelief. You did not fight with honor, he accused. Infiltration, deception, attacking from hiding. Lisa studied the alien leader. We fought to win, with minimal losses. Where we come from, that is the highest form of honor in warfare. Hrax Vul's vertical eyes blinked in confusion. But this is not how wars are fought among civilized species. Lisa leaned closer. Then perhaps you shouldn't have started a war with humans. News of the Zolarian defeat spread quickly through the galaxy. The species that had been conquering worlds for centuries had finally met an opponent they couldn't overcome. More importantly, they had been defeated by beings they had dismissed as primitive. Dr. Catherine Morgan adjusted her translator device as she prepared to address the Galactic Assembly. At 42, she was one of Earth's leading xenobiologists. But today, she was serving as humanity's first ambassador to the wider galactic community. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from over 60 spacefaring civilizations. Many had traveled for weeks just to see these strange humans who had humbled the mighty Zolarians. Distinguished representatives, Catherine began. Her words automatically translated into 24 languages. I bring greetings from Earth. We are honored to join this assembly of advanced civilizations. The large alien in the center seat leaned forward. According to Catherine's briefing, this was High Counselor Zevpar of the Vrexian Confederation, currently serving as Assembly Leader. We welcome Earth to the Galactic Assembly, Zevpar said slowly. Your victory over the Zolarian Empire has disturbed many here. We wish to understand your species better. Catherine nodded. I'm happy to answer your questions. Is it true, asked a tall, thin representative with pale blue skin, that humans fought among themselves for thousands of years before achieving space travel? Yes, Catherine answered honestly. Our history includes many wars between nations and peoples of Earth. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The blue alien looked disturbed. And you developed weapons of mass destruction capable of destroying your own world? Asked another representative. We did, Catherine confirmed. Nuclear weapons, biological agents. These dark chapters in our history taught us the value of peace. Yet you defeated the Zolarians using military tactics, pointed out a reptilian delegate. Tactics that no other species has employed. Catherine chose her words carefully. Humans don't want war. We've seen too much of it on our own world. But our history of conflict taught us to be adaptable. When the Zolarians attacked us without provocation, we used our understanding of warfare to defend ourselves. The High Counselor studied her. The Zolarian Empire has conquered 27 worlds before yours. All of them fought honorably and lost. You fought differently. We fought to survive, Catherine said simply. In human history, those who fought only according to expected rules often perished. We learned to adapt, to overcome stronger opponents through strategy rather than direct force. As the questioning continued, Catherine realized the assembly wasn't just curious. Many were afraid. The idea of a species that had mastered warfare through millennia of fighting itself was terrifying to civilizations that had achieved peace before developing advanced weapons. Meanwhile, light years away, Lieutenant Henry Blackwood crouched in the shadows of an alien city. The buildings of Zolar 9, a planet long conquered by the Zolarian Empire, towered above him, their strange architecture glowing in the light of 3 moons. With him were 5 other human special forces operatives and a dozen aliens from different, subjugated species. The patrol passes every 30 minutes, whispered Krell, a furry being from a world called Nyx. There are always 8 guards, Henry nodded. Perfect. We don't want to take on too many at once. The alien looked confused. But there are 18 of us. We outnumber them. Victory isn't about numbers, Henry explained patiently. It's about advantage. We'll wait until they're tired near the end of their shift. Krell and the other resistance fighters exchanged puzzled glances. For generations, they had been taught that the Zolarians were invincible. Direct confrontation had always failed. The concept of strategic patience was new to them. 3 hours later, the exhausted Zolarian patrol dragged themselves back to their barracks. They never saw the small devices Henry's team placed along their route. Simple explosive charges made from local materials, designed to look like pieces of trash. The next day, when the fresh patrol marched out, the explosives detonated. Not to kill, but to confuse and disorient. As the guards stumbled about, resistance fighters moved in from multiple directions, quickly subduing them and taking their weapons. No unnecessary deaths, Henry reminded them as they secured the stunned Zolarians. We want their equipment and uniforms, not bodies. One of the younger aliens, a scaled creature named Traz, looked disappointed. They killed thousands of my people. Why show mercy? Because we're not fighting for revenge, Henry said firmly. We're fighting for freedom. And because dead enemies can't provide intelligence. Within weeks, Henry's methods transformed the resistance on Zolar 9. Instead of rare, desperate attacks that usually ended in failure, they conducted precise operations. With minimal casualties, they avoided direct confrontation, instead targeting supply lines, communication centers, and infrastructure. Most importantly, Henry taught them to use the Zolarians' rigid thinking against them. The aliens expected attacks on military targets, not civilian infrastructure. They looked for large resistance groups, not small mobile teams. They prepared for direct assaults, not subtle sabotage. Word of the successful resistance spread to other conquered worlds. Soon, Henry found himself training trainers, natives of various planets who would take human tactics back to their homeworlds. You make warfare into an art form, observed Ilara, a tall, graceful being with 6 fingers on each hand. Your species fought itself for so long that you understand violence in ways we never could. Henry shook his head. Not an art, a science. We study it, learn from each failure, improve our approach. Humans don't glorify war. We just got very good at it because we had to. In the secure conference room of the Galactic Assembly, representatives from the warrior cultures gathered in private session. The Krith, the Martoks, and the Sulgans, all species with proud military traditions, shared their concerns. These humans fight without honor, growled Krith Ambassador Drelkor. They avoid direct confrontation. They use deception and trickery. And they win, pointed out the Sulgan representative bluntly, while losing fewer of their own. The Martok's leader stroked his face tentacles thoughtfully. They teach their methods to the conquered worlds. The Zolarian Empire reports rebellions on 12 planets now, using human tactics. But what do they want? Asked Drelkor. Territory? Resources? Slaves? The Sulgan laughed, a harsh barking sound. Haven't you been listening to their ambassador? They want peace. They fight so well because they hate fighting so much. They want to end wars quickly with minimal losses. Impossible, scoffed Drelkor. No species becomes so skilled at violence merely to avoid it. The Sulgan leaned forward. That's why they frighten me. They don't fight for glory or honor. They fight to win as efficiently as possible. And now they're teaching others to do the same. As the warrior representatives argued, Dr. Catherine Morgan was finishing her presentation to the main assembly. In conclusion, she said, Earth seeks peaceful relations with all species. We defended ourselves against aggression, but our goal is cooperation, not conflict. An elderly representative from a gas giant planet spoke up. Yet your methods of warfare are spreading. Reports indicate human tactics being used by resistance movements across the Zolarian Empire. Catherine nodded. Oppressed people asked for our help. We believe all species have the right to freedom. You are rewriting the rules of conflict across the galaxy, the High Counselor said gravely. Many find this concerning. Catherine looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of dozens of alien species. Humans learned warfare the hard way, from fighting ourselves for thousands of years. Now we hope to use that knowledge to create a lasting peace, not through force, but through understanding. As she left the chamber, Catherine couldn't help but notice how many representatives stepped back to give her extra space. The reputation of humans was spreading, a species so familiar with warfare that they had mastered it, yet claimed to desire peace above all else. It was, she reflected, a difficult paradox for many aliens to accept. Supreme War Chief Drazkor of the Krith Dominion could not sleep. For the 3rd night in a row, he paced the secure chamber of his fortress home on the Krith homeworld. The walls were 2 meters thick, made of material that could withstand orbital bombardment. 20 elite guards patrolled outside. Security systems monitored every approach, yet Drazkor felt unsafe. He reviewed the reports again. The humans had defeated the Zolarian Empire's main fleet. Now rebellions using human tactics were spreading across Zolarian territory. The once mighty empire was crumbling, its rigid military structure unable to adapt to this new kind of warfare. Primitives, he muttered, his claw-like fingers tapping nervously on his desk. How could primitives do this? The Krith were different from the Zolarians. Where the Zolarians conquered through direct force, the Krith preferred psychological warfare. For centuries, they had controlled their territories through fear and intimidation. Their victims were allowed to maintain their own governments, as long as they paid tribute and obeyed Krith commands. Drazkor had ordered his intelligence division to gather everything they could about these humans. What he learned disturbed him deeply. They had fought wars of ideology, religion, resources, and territory. They had developed psychological warfare to levels that even the Krith found impressive. They understood fear and how to use it. Worse, they understood how to resist it. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. Drazkor activated his secure terminal. "Report," he demanded. His intelligence chief appeared on screen. "Supreme War Chief, we have completed our analysis of human warfare psychology. You should prepare yourself. The findings are concerning. Proceed." Humans developed a concept they call asymmetric warfare. When facing a stronger enemy, they avoid direct confrontation. Instead, they target vulnerabilities, supply lines, communication networks. They strike where least expected, then disappear. Drazkor growled. "Cowardly tactics." "Effective tactics," corrected the intelligence chief. "And their psychological warfare capabilities exceed our own in some areas. They understand that fear works differently for each species. They adapt their approach accordingly." This was the most disturbing news. The Krith had always believed themselves masters of fear. Their appearance alone, large, dark-scaled bodies with multiple limbs and glowing red eyes, terrified most species. Their psychological tactics had broken the will of dozens of worlds without firing a shot. "What do you recommend?" asked Drazkor. "Demonstration of power," replied the intelligence chief. "Something to show humans the consequences of defiance. Our long-range weapons could destroy their colony on Titan. It would send a clear message." Drazkor considered this. The small human settlement on Titan, a moon of their system's 6th planet, was relatively undefended. A surprise attack could wipe it out completely. "Prepare the strike," he ordered. "No warning, no demands, just destruction." 3 days later, a fleet of Krith stealth vessels launched their attack on the Titan colony. They expected no resistance. From the small research outpost with its population of just over 200 humans, the destructive power of the Krith weapons turned the colony's main dome to ash. Secondary explosions consumed the smaller structures. Within minutes, nothing remained but smoking ruins. The Krith fleet commander, Fraktul, ordered a full scan of the destruction. "Confirm all targets eliminated." "Confirmed, Commander," reported his sensor officer. "No life signs detected." Fraktul nodded with satisfaction. "Return to base. The humans will understand our message." The fleet returned to Krith space, where a celebration awaited them. Supreme War Chief Drazkor himself attended the victory gathering, praising the fleet's success. "Let the humans tremble," he announced to his assembled officers. "Let them know the price of opposing the Krith Dominion." The celebration lasted well into the night. As it wound down, Fraktul retired to his private quarters, pleased with his accomplishment. He entered his room, touched the light panel, and froze. A human woman sat calmly in his chair. "Hello, Commander," said Captain Julia Hernandez of Earth Special Forces. "Please don't call for help. Your communication systems are temporarily disabled." Fraktul reached for his weapon but found the holster empty. "Looking for this?" Julia held up his sidearm. "Please sit down. We need to talk." "How did you get here?" Fraktul demanded, trying to hide his shock. "How did you get past security?" Julia smiled, slightly. "The same way we got off Titan before you destroyed it. The same way 6 of my team members are currently having similar conversations with your senior officers. We've been here for days." Fraktul felt a chill run through his body. "What do you want?" "Just to deliver a message," Julia said calmly. "The colony you destroyed was evacuated 48 hours before your attack. We knew you were coming." "Impossible." "We understand your species, Commander. We studied your psychological warfare tactics. We predicted your response." She leaned forward. "While you were watching us, we were watching you." Across the Krith Command Center, similar scenes played out as human operatives revealed themselves to shocked Krith officers. But the most significant meeting was taking place in the supposedly impregnable fortress of Supreme War Chief Drazkor. Drazkor awoke with a start, sensing something wrong. The lighting in his bedroom was different, dimmer. He reached for the emergency button beside his bed, but a voice stopped him. "Your security systems are offline, Supreme War Chief," said a calm male voice. Drazkor turned to see a human male sitting in the corner of the room. Professor Albert Williams, head of Earth's Xenopsychology Division, studied the alien leader with interest. "How?" began Drazkor. "How did I get past your guards, your sensors, your 2-meter-thick walls?" Albert finished for him. "The same way we got past the Zolarians. We don't think like you expect us to think." Drazkor felt something he had never experienced before. Pure primal fear. Not for his dominion or his species, but for himself. "Are you here to kill me?" he asked, his voice unnaturally high. Albert shook his head. "No. We're here to educate you. Humans don't want your territory or resources. We don't want revenge for Titan. We knew that was coming and evacuated everyone. We want you to understand something fundamental about humans." Drazkor waited, hardly breathing. "You think fear is a weapon," Albert continued. "Something you use against others. Humans know fear is information. It tells us where danger lies, so we can prepare for it. Your species tries to create fear. Mine has spent thousands of years learning to use fear, to work through it, to make it serve us." He stood up. "You will be returned to your people in 3 days. You won't remember our conversation or how you were taken. But you will remember one thing. Humans can reach anyone, anywhere, at any time." When Supreme War Chief Drazkor was found, 3 days later in an empty cargo vessel drifting near Krith space, he appeared physically unharmed. Medical scans showed no injuries, no signs of torture. But he was changed. He jumped at shadows. He trusted no one. He could not sleep without powerful sedatives, and he refused to discuss humans or Earth in any capacity. Within months, similar reports came from military leaders across the galaxy. War chiefs and commanders developed what human psychologists called anticipatory anxiety, but what alien medics diagnosed as human dread syndrome. It wasn't Earth's weapons or ships that kept alien war chiefs awake at night. It was the knowledge that humans understood warfare and fear itself in ways other species were only beginning to comprehend. 5 years after first contact, the Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from over 200 worlds filled the chamber, many attending for the first time. The once conquered planets of the Zolarian Empire now sent their own delegates. The Krith Dominion, greatly reduced in power and territory, observed from their diminished section. Even species that had previously avoided galactic politics had come today. They all waited for the humans. Admiral Franklin Pierce entered the hall, accompanied by Chief Diplomat Roger Martinez and a small delegation from Earth. The Admiral wore his formal uniform adorned with medals from the Zolarian conflict. At 62, his hair had turned completely white, but his back remained straight, his gaze sharp and alert. High Counselor Zev Par of the Vrexian Confederation called the assembly to order. "Representatives of the galactic community, we welcome the human delegation. Admiral Pierce has requested time to address this assembly regarding the future of interstellar relations." Admiral Pierce approached the central podium, his steps measured and confident. Silence fell across the chamber. "Distinguished representatives," he began, his deep voice carrying easily through the hall. "Humanity did not enter the galactic community seeking conflict. We fought only when necessary, and we fought to win decisively. Now we propose something different." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the podium, showing a complex network of worlds connected by lines. "This is our proposal. A mutual defense pact, open to all worlds that wish to join. Any aggression against a member world will be met with a united response from all members." Murmurs spread through the assembly. A representative from a former Zolarian colony spoke up. "You propose to protect us? To become the new dominant power?" Admiral Pierce shook his head. "No. We propose that all members protect each other. Earth would have one vote, equal to any other world. Decisions would require majority approval of all members. The Krith representative, a much younger and less aggressive individual than the previous ambassador, leaned forward. "And what of former aggressors? Would the Krith be welcome in this pact?" All species are welcome, Pierce confirmed, provided they agree to the core principles: respect for sovereignty, peaceful resolution of disputes, and collective defense against outside threats. Chief Diplomat Roger Martinez stepped forward, taking over the presentation. At 55, he had spent his career in international relations before humanity reached the stars. His calm demeanor and genuine warmth had made him Earth's most effective voice in galactic affairs. "We understand many of you fear humans," Roger said frankly. "Our history of warfare, our adaptability in conflict, our psychological approach to combat, these things make us seem dangerous. And in truth, we are dangerous when threatened." He paused, looking around the chamber. "But humans are tired of war. We've had enough conflict in our history. We've proven we can fight if needed. Now we want to prove we can build peace." Over the next 3 days, the Assembly debated the human proposal. Some saw it as a trick, a way for Earth to control other worlds through seemingly peaceful means. Others, particularly those who had benefited from human assistance against oppressors, spoke passionately in favor. On the final day, Roger Martinez found himself in a private meeting with former Supreme War Chief Drazkor, now serving as a peace ambassador for the reformed Krith government. The once fearsome warrior had never fully recovered from his encounter with human special forces. His hands trembled slightly as he poured himself a drink. "I must know something," Drazkor said quietly. "When your operatives took me 5 years ago, what did you do to me? Your people had me for 3 days. I remember nothing, yet I am changed." Roger studied the alien carefully. "Nothing physical was done to you. We simply showed you the truth about humanity. Which is that we understand conflict too well, that we know how fear works in hundreds of species, that we could have destroyed the Krith Dominion but chose not to." Drazkor's eyes narrowed. "Why? Why show mercy when you could have conquered?" "Because conquest creates resistance. Always. We learned that from our own history. True peace only comes from mutual respect and cooperation." The former war chief was silent for a long moment. "My people voted to join your alliance. Many opposed this decision. They say we dishonor ourselves by allying with former enemies." "And what do you say?" Roger asked. "I say," Drazkor replied slowly, "that only a fool fights an enemy who understands warfare better than he does, and only a greater fool rejects their offer of peace." On the final day of the Assembly, 78 worlds signed the treaty creating the Interstellar Alliance. Within a year, that number would grow to over 150. Earth contributed its technology and knowledge, but did not dominate the alliance. Instead, humans seemed almost eager to return to their scientific and artistic pursuits once the immediate threats were neutralized. In the 5 years that followed, Admiral Pierce oversaw the transition of Earth's defense fleet into a joint peacekeeping force with mixed crews from dozens of worlds. When he finally retired, he handed command to an alien admiral from a former Zolarian colony. On the 10th anniversary of First Contact, Professor Albert Williams gave a lecture at the newly established Galactic University on Earth. The audience included students and scholars from over 60 species. "The greatest irony," he told them, "is that humans never wanted to become warriors. Our history of conflict was a tragedy, not something we celebrate. We fought ourselves for resources, for territory, for ideology, and from each bloody chapter, we learned something new about the science of warfare." A student from the Krith homeworld raised a hand. "Professor, is it true that human children are trained in combat from an early age?" Albert laughed gently. "No, not at all. Most humans go their entire lives without fighting. We seek peace, cooperation, creativity. War is our last resort, not our first instinct." "Then why?" asked another student, a young Zolarian. "Do so many species still fear humans?" The professor considered this question carefully. "Because we demonstrated something unique in galactic history. A species can be both peaceful by nature and terrifyingly effective in warfare when necessary. That paradox is difficult for many to accept." After the lecture, Albert walked through the university gardens with Dr. Catherine Morgan, now the president of the institution. In the decades since First Contact, her hair had gained streaks of gray, but her eyes remained bright with curiosity. "Do you think it will last?" Albert asked her. "This peace we've built?" Catherine watched students from dozens of worlds mingling in the gardens, sharing ideas and building friendships. "I believe it will. Not because everyone loves each other. That's not realistic, but because everyone understands the alternative." "Fear keeps the peace," Albert noted with a small smile. "Not exactly," Catherine corrected him. "Respect keeps the peace. The galaxy learned to respect humanity's capability for warfare. But now they're learning to respect our capacity for cooperation, innovation, and compassion too." In secure rooms, across the galaxy, military leaders still studied human warfare. They analyzed Earth's history, its conflicts, its shifting strategies. Some still had trouble sleeping, imagining what humans might do if truly provoked again. But as the years passed, a new generation grew up knowing humans as teachers, doctors, artists, and friends, not just as the species whose approach to warfare had transformed the galaxy and kept war chiefs up at night.